Hello everyone and welcome. Let's have a nice walk in the woods today. We'll discuss consciousness as we normally do. My name is William and we are live. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for tuning in. I am indeed. I am indeed. Let's pin that one. Pin that one. Let's get this pinned. Just a reminder of the power of the word I am. I being the infinite. Let's get this pinned. Just a reminder of the power of the word I am. I being the infinite. Let's get this pinned. Just a reminder of the power of the word I am. I being the infinite. Let's get this pinned. Just a reminder of the power of the word I am. I being the infinite. I being the infinite. As your imagination, it is a boundless, fully available to you sea of creation from which all things are possible. All you need to do is imagine it. So, think of the A as the active selecting power which you are using to discern or choose or select what it is you desire. The M is the maternal matrix being the womb of creation. And through I am, you are impressing it to express itself in your reality, your waking reality, consciousness. So consciousness is the I am. It is the fuel of the I am. It is the source of the I am. And you are, for all intents and purposes, consciousness. You are that. By being human. Thank you for the love. This helps to get the algorithm stirring. It will get us out there to more people. Perhaps folks who have questions regarding consciousness and the aliveness of being. And for those who are wondering why I am in the woods, it is because these antennae, these trees, are releasing tons of free electrons. I am breathing them in and absorbing them through the skin, and they are helping with the removal of free radicals that otherwise would be wreaking havoc on my physical body. By using your imagination, which is a higher dimensional faculty than even the 3D world, bear with me, I'll explain how. Using the imagination leaves an incredible impression upon your subconscious, which is responsible for manifesting things. So we are doing meditation for manifestation. That's what we do here in the woods. Meditation for manifestation, okay? That is consciousness. Active. We are currently 1,700 feet above sea level and rising. Thank you so much for your love coming in right off the bat. It's so helpful. Really, if there's anything I could ask for, it would be for you to like and share. That way anyone who's stumbling by, finding their way through the scroll, will land on a page that I imagine has the answers to things that they innately would be seeking. And so, consciousness explained is how do we manifest things? That's what we talk about here on this channel. That's where most of the interest is. That's what we're doing. Once we get to the top of this hill, I'll be recovering the breath, talking to you more about the breath before we continue onward. Anytime you have questions, please pose them here in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. If I cannot give you a thorough enough answer, by the next broadcast I will have it. All right, let's connect. Let's connect with a tree. You're seeing a mirror image, so this is actually my right hand. And look at how my skin curls with the bend. You see how that curve is like that? That is the golden ratio at work. You can even see it with the stitching of my skin. Same with yours. This golden spiral is the center of all things mathematical in this world. You can notice it in everything from the bark of this tree, its layering within, the formation of leaves and flowers. You see it in everything. It's beautiful. It shows that God's manifold expression, this infinite intelligence, is working in the form of a spiral, expanding outward, layering an impression upon us as we speak and listen. Let's have a listen to these leaves as they rustle. Try to hear all the sounds you can. This concentration on listening to sound gives you presence, and presence gives you healing. That's the formula. The more you accept that there is an impression or an expression happening before you in the now, more than using your imagination to create time, heals you. So the healing process, albeit difficult to the ego because it cannot see when you're using the imagination, it can only feed off of the imagination through time, thinks that what you're doing when you're using the imagination is worthless and not valuable to you, and in fact you should be afraid of the imagination. You should avoid it at all costs, as the ego, your identity, fears your use of it in a conscious way. Because by using it, you're shining light upon any phantoms or any illusion in your life, your ego being the largest one. So it's not that we're trying to dismiss the ego or banish it in any way, simply for it to understand it's no longer the chief executive officer over our lives. This identity that we built, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, no longer has this role of managing our lives without our consent. This is how we come into power as being, and that's what we're doing here. By being present, you come into your power. But most of us, we fear the present. So we dismiss this power, we fear it, we push it away, and the ego, of course, tries to reward us by saying we're doing the right thing, when in fact, it's just feeding off of our imagination without consent. And that's what we're trying to get past. We're now at 4,200 feet above sea level and rising. Thank you for your love today. Welcome, everyone. Anyone who's been here before, thank you for revisiting. Anyone who's here for the first time, perhaps coming in from the FYP, welcome. The expectation here is that you have a space where you can communicate and express yourself openly and freely. At the same time, get the answers to the questions that you might need for wish fulfillment. The forum is open to you. As I turn the camera, I will not see your questions, so therefore if I miss your question by the time I come back, it would be a good time to re-express it. And we do have a few moderators who come and go, and they do this from the kindness of their own hearts, and they do occasionally pin things, allowing me to be able to read with some time and give you a good thorough answer. Hello, Grandma. Oh, Grandma, I'm so happy you're here. Says, what a beautiful day. I'm so grateful to have your presence here. Thank you for joining. Really, Your energy is so powerful and it's so good. And I just want you to know I think of you often, and when I see your videos, I want you to know how much I wish for your fulfillment and happiness. So thank you. Thanks for being here. It is a beautiful day here in Connecticut, in New England. And there's an opportunity today for me to experience a little bit of warmth with the sun, which is nice. To do some sun gazing. Try to activate the third eye, massage it with some light. You know, the sun is a natural pain reliever. It's anxiolytic, which means it's anti-anxiety, reduces inflammation. When you combine this with the free electrons that are here in these woods, it allows us to do a number of things all at once. The high band radiation coming from the sun converts cholesterol under the skin into vitamin D. That acts as a transport for calcium and other nutrients that are necessary for the body and their distribution. Beyond that, we get a chance to breathe in through the nose with some calm. And as I'm doing that, and you're doing it with me, just imagine being in this environment with the freshness of the air rushing in through the nostrils. Your imagination takes precedence over your physical world. It's a higher dimensional state of being. There's no restriction to the imagination. Therefore, if you use it to believe that you are here, or perhaps in another environment that's more conducive for your health, however you want it, it's your choice. And you can do that in private with the imagination. And what happens is, the cells of your body, which are the result of you, for you came as one cell in the beginning, you were a zygote, and every cell that's in your body came from that. So you're the skipper, you're the one in charge of your body. The intelligence to heal your body is there. The intelligence to repair your body is there. And the cells are simply responding to what they believe to be a change in environment. They do not know the difference between you changing the environment through the imagination or changing it physically in this physical sojourn. So what's beautiful about the imagination is that the body feels you there. And all I'm asking is that you entertain it enough for the body to feel like it's had a great vacation from whatever stressors, whatever life situations, whatever pain remembrances may be surging in the body, that you be present enough to recognize them. You don't have to say no to them. You don't have to be angry with them. Instead, simply step away from them by stepping into the imagination and seeing yourself comfortable, happy, and wish fulfilled. And you can make this even stronger by breathing in through the nose as best as you can. Some folks have difficulty with respiration in their own way. So this isn't a competition, nor is this a demand being made. I'm simply telling you, with your in-breath coming in through the nostrils, you are inviting compressed air to come in through the nostrils, be warmed by the membranes of the nose, be sent through and bypass the petri dish that is the mouth, which is the first stage of digestion. Then goes to the upper respiratory system and down. Fresh oxygen brought with it. And when you come in through the nose in this compressed air, these cells inside produce something called nitric oxide. So there's a lot of nitrogen. Okay, sounds good, Grandma. Says, have a beautiful and blessed day. I've got to go. The twins are calling for Grandma. I don't blame them. Everybody wants Grandma's time. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Folks, click on Grandma's profile and give her a follow. She's amazing. Go check out her lives. Okay, everybody. So as we're breathing in through the nose here, the air that we're having come into the body is 75% nitrogen. Very little amounts of that are being absorbed by the body. So we call the air that we breathe tidal volume, T-I-D-A-L, as in the tides of the sea. The tidal volume that's coming and going from the body the majority of it is nitrogen. About 18 to 20% of the air is oxygen. And then the rest is carbon dioxide and a few other trace elements. But the bottom line is, this nitrogen is a wonderful transport vehicle for oxygen. So as it comes in through the nose, it's compressed through 2 different air entries. It's filtered by the hairs of the nose. It's warmed by the membranes, brought down and around, past the esophagus, through to the upper respiratory system. So it avoids the petri dish of the mouth, comes in nice and warm, oxygenated, and rich, supplying this tidal volume to the lungs. But in addition, the membrane cells right here in the inside of the nose, they're very specific. They absorb a tiny amount of that nitrogen coming in, whereas the air from the mouth can't. It produces nitric oxide, goes to the brain, crosses the blood-brain barrier, sends off a bunch of signals to the brain to release and start the psychopharmacology of the body. You start to receive the endorphins as a result from breathing in through the nose. This is why it's so calming to breathe through the nostrils. And it's the natural way to breathe. So it does all those things, and it balances out the oxygen and carbon dioxide that's in the body as well. Okay? So as we're doing these things, as we're breathing consciously with awareness, we can add an extra layer to the breath by saying to yourself in your mind with every in-breath through the nose, I am breathing in. So you take the in-breath, you think to yourself, I'm breathing in, you hold for a second, let that oxygen absorb, then exhale out the nose. Balances the carbon dioxide with the oxygen. Say to yourself in the out-breath as well, I am breathing out. Then the in-breath, I'm breathing in. The out-breath, I'm breathing out. You're saying this in your mind. And by saying this in your mind, you have to use your imagination. You have to imagine the ringing of these words, coming and going. And so when you have to use the imagination to give your mind a task, it pulls you from time in a natural way. Now let's kick this up a notch. We're getting used to the idea of I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out, rattling in the mind as dialogue. Start to imagine now with your eyes closed if you must. If you can do this with your eyes open, it means you have a well-developed imagination, which is great. There is no competition nor requirement for you to do that, but you can do either. I want you to imagine a birthday cake before you. If any of you have seen the movie Blade Runner 2049, there's a wonderful scene where there's a woman, a very important character in the film, who has this chamber where she has a virtual device and she constructs the environment around her, makes them into memories. And there's a scene where she makes a birthday cake and she puts it out there and shows it to one of the replicants. So in this scene, it shows how there's the blowing out of the candles in this film. I want you to try to recreate that scene as if you have this beautiful dome around you, but it is limitless in its space, limitless in its depth. Make this your imagination dome. By going into it, you now see before you that beautiful birthday cake. You breathe in. I'm breathing in. Exhale. Blow out the candles. Do it again. Cake is before you. Candles are lit. You've reset it. I'm breathing in. Blow out the candles. And what this does is it resets your nervous system, which can only be active or passive. Think of your think of your nervous system as a light switch. When it's on, it's called sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. Think of it as like active. And what we're trying to do is shut the system off so that the system isn't alert, thinking it needs to go into survival mode. By shutting it off, it says, everything around me is calm. Everything is serene. Everything is secure. When you use the imagination and you imagine monitoring your breath, with this simple dialogue of I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. You activate the light switch, which is shutting it off, of the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system reduces inflammation and tells your body that all is well and calm, that there is no threat, there is no danger. And when there is no threat and there is no danger, the heart starts to work in a much different way. You see, the heart is about 5,000 times more magnetic than the brain. And it's either rejecting something or attracting something, like a magnet. And when you change your nervous system, when you shut that switch off, it starts to become receptive. You become receptive to thoughts and learning. You become receptive to feelings. You become receptive to the calm. And this is all managed through the imagination. By imagining the birthday cake, breathing in, blowing out the candles, monitoring your breath. This is active meditation. Meditation is dreaming with control. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between when you are dreaming, this waking life before you, having a life experience, or when you are meditating. All it is impressed by your feelings. And what we're trying to do is impress the subconscious with the feelings of your wish fulfillment. The feelings that you are calm. The feelings that you are serene, secure, knowledgeable, worthy, loved and loving, enriched, abundant. These are the elements that come natural to the state of being human. To be wealthy is to be healthy. Wealth and health is a difference of one letter. So what we're doing here is we're becoming wealthy in thought by utilizing the currency of our life in a profoundly different way than the way we were before, liberally giving away our energy to every thought, every situation, every stressor, every painful life experience that we've embedded in the body. We have been unknown to ourselves or unconsciously giving away our currency to these things. There's Overhoff says correct. I love that you concur. So what we're trying to do is properly utilize the currency of our life. This currency has a name. Ani, thank you for following. Thank you. This currency is called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. And ATP is found in every life form on planet Earth. Every bit of life runs off of this currency. And the way that the currency is made by the human body is beautiful and unique. And I'm going to explain to you how it is we create this currency of life. For it to happen, it requires a number of resources. For one, you need to have energy in the form of glucose. If you do not have glucose, you can use glycogen. And that's done through ketosis after you have eliminated all of your reserves. So think of your body as a Federal Reserve system. Perhaps you've heard of the Federal Reserve. The way it works is it prints money and it puts that money into circulation so that we can have access to it and spend it. Now what happens with the body then, with our central banking system, is as follows. You breathe in. Part of your tidal volume includes oxygen. That oxygen comes in, makes its way to the respiratory system, and the oxygen is carefully and beautifully removed. Then you have electrons coming from the negatively charged earth, being released by the antennae that are these trees, and just floating around in the environment are free electrons. These electrons join what's called an electron transport chain. Think of it like a chain of fireworks. And these electrons are going through a process, through a furnace or perhaps you could call it a power plant of the body. And we have lots of them, and they're incredible, and they're called mitochondria. So mitochondria, they are with us for the entirety of our lives. And these mitochondria learn from our life experiences. And the more that these mitochondria undergo oxidative stress from environmental factors, either through the mind, changing the environment through the mind, which we were discussing and will continue to discuss, it's called epigenetics, or through environmental factors, our cells go under stress and the mitochondria will degrade in their power over time. But they'll learn about how to deal with stressors. All is to say, we're trying to make sure the mitochondria are plentiful, youthful, vibrant, and mature. Sages that know how to make the perfect amount of income. So think of it as the power that powers the plant that powers our currency system. Like the Federal Reserve needs to have electricity. The mitochondria is that power plant. So electrons come into the body. They join the electron transport chain, or the ETC. Oxygen is used in the process for the creation of adenosine triphosphate. The chain does it through the use of power, which is glucose, which you get from your food. So glucose from the food, along with oxygen from the air and free electrons from the environment, function in creating your currency. We got a chickadee singing. Let's see if he's going to still sing. Well, maybe it was just one. I got my ears out. So the better the quality of our food, the better the quality of our air, and the more frequently we expose ourselves to free electrons, the more efficient the mitochondria can be at producing currency for the body. That currency is adenosine triphosphate, and it stores itself in our cells. So what happens when we have a stressful experience? Well, first of all, in order for that stressor to be felt in the body and to be entertained by the mind, it must use this currency. So what happens when we have a deficiency of this currency, when we run out of money in our bank account? Well, we'll start to pull it from our reserves. Garrett says, I imitate the chickadee exactly his high tones. That's amazing. I want to learn how this is done. That was my best attempt. And that's the singing chickadee. Sometimes they go psh, 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 when they're sending off an alarm, which they'll often do with me. I basically say they're super pissed. But that's cool. So in order for us to have a thought process, in order for us to consider anything through consciousness, it must use this currency. So think about what happens if we're using this currency so liberally and unconsciously to just throw it out there for every single thought that crosses our mind, every single stressor. We're paying a lot of attention to it. We're literally paying attention in the form of our currency. Whereas that currency could otherwise be used for real absorption of knowledge, the reduction of inflammation in the body, and the recovery of cells by changing their environment. Jason says, I love singing to the birds. Welcome back, Jason. Garrett says, this really attracts them and they follow you. Indeed, chickadees are very curious and they do follow me around, and I am most honored when they do. Drew says, how are you? Wow, the snow melted fast, indeed, but we got some more in the forecast, I think, for tonight. So we might have a snowbound day tomorrow here on this trail, enjoying the sun and the blue skies while we have them. This is cool, Garrett. I love that they follow you too. And thanks for following. Speaking of that. Okay, so we've discussed so far how adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency of the body, is produced through an electron transport chain how it requires glucose, which we get from our food. And when we run out of those reserves, where do we turn for the currency of life? We turn to our fat. As we are the fat of the land and the salt of this earth, we turn to the fat. And then what undergoes is a process of, you go to the bank. Let's say you wanted to take out a large sum of money. Well, it's not as easy as just spending a small amount that you might have in checking. Think of your checking account as the readily available glucose that's being converted to energy that you've just eaten in the form of carbs, okay? And think of your savings account more like this other form of currency that you're getting from your fat. It's not as efficient. It takes longer for it to be converted. By the time you have it, it's just for maintenance because you ideally would like to have that direct, immediate energy. So ketosis is the process that takes place that uses glycogen for the creation of ATP. And this whole process is with the absence of oxygen. So it is called anoxic, A-N-O-X-I-C. In other words, fermentation occurs in the body. And fermentation occurs, in this case, anaerobic, because it's used up all the oxygen reserves, because we're gobbling them up and using them for this life experience. As I'm walking in the woods, I require ATP for the warming of my hands and exposure to the cold. I require ATP for my thought processes to deliver to you this information. It's happening most likely now as we're synced in with the biofield of this forest. It's happening on a gamma level way between gamma and theta. I likely have synchronicity between the hemispheres, so this is great because it allows the ATP that's being used to be managed perfectly. There's not a whole lot of waste being wasted with my brain right now because of the synchronicity of myself with this forest. I can just allow this podcast, this radio station, to deliver you knowledge without my interference. Now, if I were to interfere and start thinking about things that have to do with time, suddenly my delivery becomes less powerful for you, and I'm also using the currency in a way that is inefficient. So we're looking at using the currency of our life in an efficient way by syncing the brain up in a way and using our breath to release endorphins, reduce inflammation, and be more absorbent to knowledge, more accepting and open to the idea there's an infinite intelligence flowing through all of us that knows the means and the way to deliver this to you. And so the knowledge is coming to you through me, but it's not coming from my identity. And this is where it can become complicated for some individuals to say, well, I thought all I was my identity. What else am I? Just want to catch up here. Mindy Coleman, thank you for following. Rachel, great to see you again. Link in bio says, hi, 4937. Oh, I know who you are. I haven't seen you in a long time, link in bio. It must mean that we're growing here. Bodhi, thank you for following. Sue, thank you for following. Eric says, you have trees to hug. Indeed, I do. Let's do that. Let's get on that. And I think I caught you too. Thank you for following. Are we caught up here? I think so. All right, let's hug a tree. How about a beechwood? It's one of my favorites because of the way the leaves rustle. Here's a nice, beautiful, healthy beechwood. Let's give a hug. Oh, this beechwood's got a nice eye on it. Nice big wide Vesica Pisces form. This is the Vesica Pisces. Nice little eye. Let's give a hug. Hello, tree. Nice to see you. Thanks for the love. I just want you to know, I can literally feel this tree vibrating right now. I can literally feel it. Its resting frequency pouring into my body from my hands. And I'm just going to rest my cheek a little bit right here. That's love. This is love right here. This is my ancestor that I have a hug with right now. Has the same cellular structures as me, same kingdom. We're both eukaryotes. This tree has never walked a single step in its life, but it moves all the time. It counts on the sun and the rain and the nutrients in the soil to stay alive, has complete faith in the system itself. It's like a baby in the womb that gives me life and takes all the impurities from my carbon dioxide and converts it into beautiful oxygen so that I can have more currency, so that I can have more money made with my central bank that is mitochondria and the electron transport chain. It's like being cradled. It's a beautiful thing. We are more bacteria than anything. Let's get into this. Indeed. You think they vibrate more at night? That's so cool. I'd believe it. After it's absorbed all of this wideband radiation throughout the day. Let's talk about how we're more bacteria in a second. Yes, we're not just eukaryotes. We also have prokaryotic bacteria in our body that makes up about 55% of the body's cells. So we're just as much part of the bacteria kingdom as we are part of the eukaryotic kingdom of nucleus-based cells. Garrett says, remembering when I hugged a tall pine at 10,000 feet in the Cascades in Oregon. Folks, if you ever need something for the imagination to receive free electrons, your cells would deeply appreciate such an image. Just go into the imagination and then the cells of your body will believe to be there. It's a beautiful image. Thanks for sharing, Garrett. Marianne, thanks for following. Asks, how are you? Hi, how are you? With the sun right there. Marianne, I'm doing great. The optimal question is, how are you? Thanks for joining. Jason says, yeah, it makes sense. So let's talk about how we're not just eukaryotes, but we're also probably more by majority prokaryotic bacteria, walking bacteria. So there are 3 kingdoms of cells in general. Some would argue there's like 11 kingdoms. They're more subcategories or umbrella brands of the 3 major brands of cells that are on this planet that you'll find. RJ, great to see you again. Says, hey, hope you're having a great day. Right back at you, RJ. Nice to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. So let's talk about the 3 kingdoms. I mentioned to you eukaryotic. Eukaryotes are the most advanced and the most recent of cellular families or kingdoms that you'll find on this planet. And they are distinct in that they have nuclei. And that nucleus in the cell is what carries with it the infinite creation or the infinite intelligence of consciousness. And so that's a beautiful cell form. It's a beautiful cell kingdom. But we also have these type of, they're pill-shaped, and they have flagellae or flagella, which are like little tendrils that allow it to move around and reproduce. And those are called prokaryotic cells, and those are bacteria cells. And they do not have nuclei. So the distinction between prokaryotes and eukaryotes are that eukaryotes have nuclei and prokaryotes do not. So what does this say about the infinite intelligence? It's still there expressing itself in its replication and programming in a way, but it does not have that centered consciousness deciding things for it based on us changing our environment through the imagination. So think of yourself as your body is a temple of God or a temple of an infinite intelligence. It's an amalgamation or collection of about 37.2 trillion cells. Some argue it's more like 50 trillion cells. Some even talk about it being 100 trillion that makes up the physical body. Within each cell, individually, there are 100 trillion atoms, okay? With this central nucleus, which has all of the intelligence that you need for the creation and cycling of life, which is amazing. So you're like walking universes. And this comes from one cell in the beginning. When you were conceived, sperm joined the egg and created something greater than the sum of its parts, which is you, as you divided off into the body that you are now, this amalgamation of wealth. Trillions of subservient cells. You have trillions of essentially slaves to your body that will do anything for you, including tossing themselves off a cliff. Every time you take a step thousands or tens of thousands of them are literally dying with joy, knowing that they're going to be recycled again in a matter of nanoseconds and released from the marrow of your bones, born again, living life, knowing that they're an embodiment of you, in service to you, in love of you, constantly seeking ways to make you more comfortable, helping you repair, helping you be stronger. These are the cells of your body. They see you as God, because effectively you are. When you use the imagination, you are entering into a higher dimensional state of being. So if you imagine yourself in perfect health right now in your imagination, the cells of your body know no difference between what you see as your waking life and what you're seeing in the imagination. It literally overrides everything else that's going on. And the cells of your body, through epigenetics, actually believe that you've experienced a change of environment and start to reflect their health within you as a result. And they're thankful that they've been presented to the vacation from the pain, the suffering, the illness that once was there as believed by you to have existed, because you feel it. Our bodies are these receptacles of feeling. We are creatures of feeling. We are beings of feeling. And so as we feel things, we leave impressions on the cells, which is environmental. The cells can't see outside of the membrane, can't experience outside of the membrane. Each cell is its own little earth, its own little universe, its own little world. And just as we can't see outside our environment, the firmament that is creating this barrier between cells is the same as the firmament that creates a barrier between ourselves and the atmosphere and the environment outside of that. So we are contained within this system, this ecosystem. And if something happens outside that has an influence on our world, we feel it. But we don't know what it is that's causing it, but we feel it. It's the same thing with the cells, just on a microcosm. You have 37.2 trillion of them that are in service to you right now. These are the cells of your body that see you as God. They also see you as the king or the queen or the emperor or the empress of their world. And they will give their lives for you, and they do give their lives for you, at a rate of 3 to 6 million cells per second. So every day, about 100 billion cells are recycling in your body. Within each cell, there's 100 trillion atoms coming and going from a place called superposition, dropping into reality to give you this perception that is consciousness. And so you are a king, you are a queen, you are an emperor, you are an empress, and your kingdom is within you rather than it being outside of you. This is what we're talking about when we discuss your kingdom of heaven within. It's not waiting for it, going through some pearly gates the moment your ego dies, because for most people, their ego dies at the moment of physical death. We're talking about the death of the ego while we are still alive in order to fully enjoy this kingdom of heaven. Because the more we feel it within, in truth, the more it starts to express itself as a result, as an effect in our external world. That's what we're looking to do. Finally see the results of our work outside of us, but the first bit of relief that we feel comes from this understanding that the kingdom is within, and the more we nurture it through the imagination, the better we feel. And the better we feel, the greater impression we leave on the subconscious to manifest it on our external world. And that's consciousness explained in a nutshell. We become what we think about, and feelings are the secret to our manifestation. Liz 222 says, thank you for this information. It's my pleasure, Liz. Thank you for chiming in. Tabitha says, what if you're incapable of changing your internal beliefs no matter how hard you try? We'll get to that next, Tabitha. And thank you for the follow. Dragon Butter, thank you for the follow. Ree, thank you for liking. And Deanna, thank you for following. I think we're caught up here. I think we got everything here. TikTok goes the clock. Thank you for following. We'll talk about time. I love that. All right, we're caught up. Where is the safe to store information? Your DNA is your storage facility. It is your hard drive of storage. And we will talk about that as well, student of the shine. Let's first get to Tabitha's question. What if you are incapable of changing your internal beliefs no matter how hard you try? Okay, so let's just, the way I talk about comments, the way I tackle these problems as I look at them in a mathematic way. So the belief system is an incapability of changing something. In other words, something outside of us is unable to be changed, which leads to a feeling, that thought process, that spending of currency leads to a feeling of no, which is to say I'm uncomfortable not having control over this environment, not being able to change it, nor changing what's going on inside of me. That no is more powerful right now than the belief that we have the ability to control it. And beyond that, that actually we are being fed this belief through a consciousness that is more our truth than our identity, believing it. We can't have belief without consciousness feeding us the power to do so. So what we're coming into right here is we are coming into our capability of simply observing we are alive. So it starts with, Tabitha, instead of performing this, which we're all performing, I'm performing a recording for you right now, but there's also an aliveness that's pumping through me at a rate of 6 million cells per second. And I'm going to observe my aliveness and this comment as the aliveness. The way I do this is I simply start to listen to the environment. With or without my voice, the space in between is what we're focusing on. Slight chirps, my voice. The ego is going to think this is a dumb exercise because we're not defining it. When we stop defining what something is, when we stop labeling it or feeling the need to, we heal. We come into our power, and a more profound organization of our happiness starts to happen without any guidance necessary. Which is to say, Tabitha, both you and I are exactly the same like every other human being. When we were in the womb, did we have to have plans? Do we have to know the way to grow from the size of a sperm to a full-grown babe? The answer is no. Everything down to our breath, the absorption of oxygen, the endorphins from the placenta, managed through an umbilical cord that fed us everything, the means and the way to our happiness. We never needed to interfere even once. And that is what I'm asking you to do right now. To just observe your aliveness without having to define it. Imagine yourself as comforted as a babe in the womb. And your ego is going to fight this. It's going to say, you've done it enough. You've got hard things happening in your life right now. You got a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges. And all I want you to say to the ego in that moment is, I choose not to entertain this as much as I observe I am alive. I know that's a story. I know it's a part of my life. I know it's expressing itself, and I know that it's presenting itself as challenges. But you know what? It's not as important as I observe I am alive. Now the feeling of the body starts to diminish because it's unwinding. The pains of the no unwind when you simply observe you're alive. And the past is going to come forward and say, what about these things that happened to you? These are important. How is it that this guy knows what you feel, what you've been through? He doesn't. Wants you to put more story in so that you don't heal. That's the sad part of the ego. Our identity has no interest in our healing or resolution of problems because it feeds off of that. It feeds off of the pain. And all we're doing now is we're letting the ego know it's not as important as we are alive and healing. Take a deep breath through the nose. Close your eyes. When you breathe out, say in your mind, I'm breathing out. Now when you breathe in, say, I'm breathing in your mind. Now when you breathe out, say, I'm breathing out. Now the ego is being forced to be your personal trainer. You're putting it in its place, in a nice way, assertively, which is loving yourself with restrictions as to what will affect you. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. You're placing limits with the phantom that is your ego. Now I want you to imagine the birthday cake before you. With your next inhale, I want you to blow out the candles. With the out breath, blow them out. The ego is still screaming, perhaps, for others. It's saying you got to pay attention to this obligation, or what about this thing that happened to you that he doesn't know about? He thinks he knows the answers, but he doesn't. I'm the only one who knows the way to help you through this. These are all false promises. They're all false promises because it's the result of what has already been thought and felt and absorbed in the body as pain. We all have it. Some much deeper than others. That doesn't matter, that story. Birthday cake. Breathe in. Blow out the candles. Now start to add how you're capable of everything, Tabitha. You're capable of everything that's ever existed or ever could exist. No restrictions. The imagination gives you this granted wish that there be no restrictions. Your ego cannot be there. It can only feed off of this energy through time. And by believing you are the answer to all things, you are healing. And you are removing obstacles without having to know the means or the way or the plan. This is what is so beautiful about the imagination. And it is the infinite source of creation. For all intents and purposes, it is your kingdom of heaven. So as we come into this strength of being, by using the imagination, feel yourself in complete control by imagining living it. What details do you need to add? These aren't my details. We're all unique. We're all individual. We all have likes and dislikes that are totally unique. And in the imagination, fortunately, we have the forum without restriction or bounds to make it so. So we are making it so. For me, I'll share a little bit with you. I'm walking with my children. They're right by my side. I'm in a perfect, loving relationship. My bank account right now keeps ticking up in the green, with green. I'm seeing myself now driving my favorite car, going through my favorite neighborhoods. I have an estate, and it's beautifully kept by very intelligent Tesla robots. I've got 4 seasons greenhouses, delivering food in great abundance every day, according to my desires. If I want something new, I imagine it as real right now, being delivered to my plate. I'm living it. I'm having these conversations with this much confidence and wealth. I'm doing these things as if they are real and no separation between them. And this is what is granted to us through the imagination. It is your kingdom of heaven. The work of suffering has already been done. It was called wiggling your way through the fallopian tubes to the cosmic egg that gave you life. That was the hardest challenge of life. It already happened. You, as a unique human being, made it to the egg before anyone else. Therefore, you are granted the imagination as a gift, which is the mind of God. There's no separation between you and that. And you are more that than your collection of life experiences that may be putting these false limitations and restrictions on your life. We all have them, and we are all here to experience them, to no longer want them anymore. They either go away through death, or they go away from death. They go away with death while we're alive. That's called ego death. Once that happens, we live here with the kingdom of heaven expressing itself before us. Or we pass away and we start this game over again with an incarnation into a new ego self. But the game of life works in only 2 ways. We either win the game while we're alive, or we win the game when we give up and we start over again. But the idea is to experience wish fulfillment while we're in the waking life. We do this through the imagination as the portal and the foundation of our success and wish fulfillment. These photons coming from the sun serve as your umbilical cord while you are here and you are feeding a star child within you. 8 octillion atoms of star child being fed by these photons. Your cells absorb them through radiation and express their own light in the form of biophotons. You must get sunlight every day. 15 to 30 minutes is my request for you. This is the umbilical cord of life, and it is a literal portal to your wish fulfillment. Everyone needs to get sun. It's there for your vitality, to reduce inflammation and to give you strength and healing. I pray that, Tabitha, I've answered your question. Thank you for all the love coming through. DJ, thank you for following. Ree says, so beautiful. Thank you, Ree. Sueru, thank you for all this. Tabitha says, okay, I've always been a realist, so this seems fairy tale-ish to me. All right. I have a hard time believing in things I've never experienced. Okay. So the ego loves this because it's a story, right? Hard time is a story. Never believing is a story. What I'm trying to get to here is the core that none of this belief system could exist without you believing that Tabitha is your end-all be-all of existence. All I'm trying to explain to you, 11 Jedi says I'm completely open to this. Hold on a sec, I'm getting a request for a CAPTCHA, and then I can approve the comment, and now I can continue. All right. We'll get to, thank you, 11 Jedi. I'm glad that you're open to this. So the idea is this, Tabitha. Before you responded to Tabitha as your name, as you are now, before I responded to William as mine, were you alive? And the answer is yes. KMK says I'm ready for you. Good. The answer is all of us, before we were our name, we were alive. But we were babies in an environment where we weren't really labeling anything other than that's good for me and that's not. I like that. I don't like that. I want more of this. I want less of that. Digital Curious says, hi, William. KMK says, I'm inspecting. But before we were our names, we were making simple decisions about what we liked versus not. And then the more we pointed out what we liked to our guardians or parents or whoever was raising us, they started to say this string of frequencies to us. For me, it was Billy. Oh, Billy likes this. Yay. Oh, I like big, wide smiles. That's good. I like more of that. It makes me feel good. I feel endorphins. And then it was Tabitha. Yay, great job. Tabitha recognizes Tabitha's name. Tabitha is an identity. All right. So before you were your name, you were simply alive. And the moment that you recognized Tabitha as your name, you started to accumulate. Tabitha went through pain. Tabitha went through suffering. Tabitha doesn't believe in this. Tabitha does believe in that. Tabitha is a realist. Tabitha is spiritual. Tabitha is atheist. Whatever it was being registered with the name, with the identity. So the bottom line is we register our beliefs of what we like versus not because we want to be safe from harm. We believe with the identity that there is only one life to live and we must preserve it at all costs. And what I'm trying to explain is that the power that gives that experience to believe it is more our truth than the name and the collection of life experiences itself. And I prove this by explaining how much is going on in the creation of life within us and how the changing of environment through the nation of images in the mind, the imagination, actually creates a physical change of environment for ourselves, which eventually expresses itself outward as the effect. That's all I'm trying to convince people of. That you're the sole proprietor of your ego. Your ego exists in a way. It's an entity. It's your player. It's the performance that's going on. But it is being managed by a superior power that is more you than your ego. That's all I'm trying to get us to. And that by coming into power, by recognizing that, the ego takes a subservient role instead of being the CEO, manager of our lives, which basically tosses us off a cliff on the daily to feel pain, suffering, and the creation of time so it can survive through us. I'm trying to eliminate that for people. Slowly, with care, with love. Cheech, thanks for following. Thanks for all the love coming through here. Digital Curious, great to see you again. Brian says, so do the problems my father had at my age, are they happening to me based off emotions? Okay. Thank you, Brian, for this question. If I've missed any other questions, I will get to them as we go. So, Brian, I'm going to look at this like a mathematician, just like I did with Tabitha's question or anyone else's. Problems, this is a no. So do the no's that my father had past, at my age, past or present, your age now, are they happening to me, speculation, based off of my feelings? So all I want to do is define that problems are a no, undesirable. The same thing with your father, also undesirable, that he was having. Are they caused by feeling? The answer is everything is caused by feeling. Feeling is the secret of your manifestation. So when you define the feeling in the gut as a no, feel it a lot, and it will leave an impression on the subconscious, which manifests into your reality. So what the ego wants more than anything between us right now, Brian, is to be sneaky and saying, okay, I got them both talking about a story. He believes in the story. William believes in the story. Great, I can stay alive. And all I want you to do is the next time the idea of problems are presented to you. By the way, Brian, it takes a lot of courage to put this in front of 31 people. And so I want you to feel that. I am observing my courage, and I'm observing that there are problems, but that's not me. That's me observing a construct that was made through a lot of feeling over time. That feeling is built up into my body, into the cells, and the more I observe it, the more it has an opportunity to unwind without my interference. Just as the body heals more at night because I'm falling asleep, my ego goes away in its influence, it can heal better because I'm not interfering. Just as the baby grows exponentially in orders of magnitude every single day in its cells up until the end of gestation because we're not getting in the way. There's no interference. The baby, us as a baby in the womb, is total presence. That's why it can grow as well as it does. That's why it has as many miracles happening as it does have happening, because there's no interference. That's what we're trying to get to. No definition, no labeling, no interference, simple observing of aliveness. And when you do this, you're going to start to come into your body. You're going to feel a resting frequency, a little bit of electric current right underneath the skin. That's going to tell you that you're present because you're feeling it. That goes away when we create time and think about stories. How do we define this? That goes away. And when we come back to just being present with the body, close your eyes, imagine your hand before you. Open your eyes, see your hand. Close your eyes, your imagination is active. You're imagining where your hand is. Open your eyes, you see your hand. You do this enough times, you're going to start to feel that resting frequency return. Because time no longer has a part in the exercise. It cannot be a part of it. It wants time. And there can be no time so long as we're imagining right now where the hand is. That's where the focus is. The focus is on presence. The focus is on the now. Lucky Lefty, thank you for following. Thank you for sharing. Now, the bottom line is the ego's not going to like it. And you don't have to like any of the situation that's going on. Whatever hereditary thing that you believe is the story between you and your father, you don't have to like it. And you don't have to pretend that you like it. And you don't have to dislike it either. You can just observe it. That's the difference. It's coming up in the body, and it will have a distinct feeling. That feeling will be no in some way. So I don't like it. I don't desire it. It seems to be happening to me now. Okay, That's what the story is. That's how it's been defined. But it's not my truth. My truth is, I am the aliveness observing this story surface again. I am the aliveness that even allows this to be in existence, this story. That is more my truth than the story itself. I'm no longer a performer of it. I'm no longer a slave to it. I'm no longer responsible for it. I just observe it. And therefore it no longer has a hold. And however it needs to roll itself out, it rolls itself out perfectly. And now, when you start to feel relief, this is when we can impress the subconscious even further, because you like the feeling. You say, wow, I love this feeling of observing that I'm alive more than feeling this painful remembrance that's stored itself. Whatever the story is, doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I have a lot of depth with this story, and I'm sure the ego would love me to dive into it so it can live off of me like a parasite, but I just like observing that I'm alive. Like I don't have to worry about all of the pressures that the world is telling me to respond to. I don't have to jump at anything. No matter how much the world is yelling, I can just observe that. I can just watch it. I can just be. Nothing can stop me. And when you say nothing can stop me, the ego is getting jabbed. And it's been demoted. It's been sent from chief executive officer of your life to the mail room, where it's now sorting out the messages that you choose to entertain versus the ones that you throw out. Whereas it used to decide, you're going to watch this show, you're going to think about this situation of pain, you're going to entertain this, because I know the way for you to feel better. But it doesn't. The ego doesn't know the way for you to feel better. It simply believes it knows, but it doesn't. Deep down inside, if you went to your imagination, the ego's voice dims. When you start to see yourself as happy, it can't see it. So it's fearful because you've disappeared. You're no longer here. You're somewhere else in your mind where you're wish fulfilled, living out the perfect fantasy. Let it be a fantasy in the mind of the ego and everybody else who wishes to define you as having your head in the sand, your cotton in your ears. That's just your past. That's your past trying to creep in again and pull you back into a routine that otherwise turned you into a victim of external circumstances. By using the imagination with consciousness, through presence, you come into your power and you heal at the same time. That's what's beautiful about this. I pray, Brian, that had given you some insight. Buddha J says, I'm from the 80s, I missed the 90s, and all 2000's been wild, lol. It's been a wild trip indeed, hasn't it, Buddha J? It's been a wild trip. So what's crazy about this trip is that time seems to have this permanence in our lives. The past, the future, they seem to be very real things. When, in effect, I explain it as follows, and most people really have an aha moment, and I did the moment this was explained to me by Eckhart Tolle in his beautiful book, The Power of Now. So, the past was a present moment that no longer is happening. So can the past exist in reality? A lot of people say, yeah, of course, it's the past, it's history. Well, in order for it to exist, in order for us to entertain the past, we have to use our imagination to believe that it is happening again, at least enough for us to reference it. So does the past truly exist? Is it real? The answer is, if we believe so. If we believe the past to be real, then suddenly it exists. And what is fueling and powering the past? In that case, it would be the imagination. So we use the imagination to create a construct of time that is the present moment that already occurred. We revisit it, we live it, we repeat it all the time. And we do this for the means of labeling and judging things. That's pretty much why we use the past. We use it to label and judge situations in life. And we do this intrinsically and automatically and unconsciously because the ego stays alive through it, feeds off of us through it, and it does it because it wants you to believe that if you do not label and define things around you and put yourself separate from other things and keep yourself at a safe distance, that you will be in harm in some way. And if you are in harm, then there's the fear of death. And if you die, this will be the only life that you ever live, says the ego. And in the truth of that is, the ego only has one life to live. This incarnation is the only one you will ever have as this identity. However, it is not the end of you in truth. Remember what I said before to Tabitha. Before you were a name, you were alive, and you witnessed and observed your aliveness as a blank slate tabula rasa baby. That is your truth in being. You observe you are alive, without definition or name or anything labeled. You are observing what I refer to as God's manifold expression, an expression of reality and grace happening before you, that when you are present enough to observe it in its truth, brings a feeling of joy, euphoria, healing, and relief. Because there is no longer any expectation for you to do anything else but be present with it. Thus, time cannot exist in the present, because time can only be the past or the future. Instead, what time becomes in the present is a manifold expression of love. And it is benign, it is healing, it is expansive, it is supportive, and it is perfection. It's grace at work. And it is before you when you rest, relax, and receive in the glorious expectancy of the now. And that is what we're trying to get to in truth, in consciousness. However, we have great attachments to time because we've spent most of our lives in time, accumulating life experiences, labeling things, storing them in the body as pain remembrances or pleasure. We are beings of feeling. We are given this beautiful haptic suit with 5 senses, and it's amazing. Yet it is fueled by a source that is more our truth than the feelings themselves. And so, the more we become observers of these feelings, the more we understand we are the creator of them. So understand that the future is just like the past, and that we must also use the imagination to create it. These are events that have not occurred. It's likely they never will. But we are using the imagination to generate these future-based scenarios and pretend to live them now. The issue is, because it's not real, the future or the past, the subconscious mind cannot manifest it in truth. The best it can do is give a feeling to the body, and in most instances, when we are considering time unconsciously, it results in a pain feeling in the body. This change of environment leads to inflammation and stress and anxiety, depression, all of the conditions that would be undesirable and felt is a result of us entertaining time. There is no solution through it. The only resolution that can come through the use of time is by becoming conscious through meditation and imagining rewriting the whole scenario by no longer even being there, by placing everyone in the perfect scenario the way you would wish to live a wish-fulfilled life, 11 Jedi says, forgive everyone and forgive yourself. Yes, because time is an illusion made by man, not the mind of God. The mind of God sees you as a babe in the womb, fully nurtured, protected, and cared for, and loved. It is the past and the future, those constructions of time that would wish to make you believe a story that you are responsible permanently for things you have done that no longer exist, or perhaps never will exist or happen. Because by doing that, you are feeding your currency of life to the creation of something that is not even real, so that an entity that we built, our ego, our identity, can feed off of it perpetually and destroy our bodies from within at the same time. Heather Marie, thank you for following. Thank you for all the love coming through here. We're at 11,400 feet above sea level and climbing. Great to see all these folks coming in, joining us on this discussion of consciousness on this Wednesday afternoon. Perhaps it's Thursday if you're in the East. Whatever it is, welcome. We are discussing how time is a creation made by the mind. Mary Alice, thank you for following. And we're also discussing how we're using currency, adenosine triphosphate, which is the currency of life, to generate this experience, this construct that is our past and our future. And I am explaining to you how the resolutions to our pain remembrances, the unwinding of this and the healing of this, has nothing to do with us creating more time. Though it seems we have to have a plan for all these things. We try so hard to strong-arm these things into a form that's different that we would desire. But it is the incorrect way to approach our pain remembrances. We approach them by removing ourselves from the environment entirely so that the environment changes for ourselves first and then for our lives outside of us as the result of that. Alex, thank you for following. Randy Rain says, thank you so much for your lives. Your explanation of the ego has helped me immensely. Much love. Randy, thank you for this incredibly encouraging comment. I'm so happy that this serves you. Nothing makes me happier than know that I'm loving and serving my community in the right way, that you find this valuable. And this feedback helps me a lot, as does all of the love coming in. Thank you so much. It puts it out there, and it allows more people to come in and understand that where I'm coming from as an identity, which is great, I can perform with you, and I can also observe my aliveness, and I come back and forth with this. This is a general wiggling out, like shedding the shell that is the truth of our existence, the seed within. It takes some time to break that shell, to let it shatter, peek out, stretch. It takes time, and then we have to go in the darkness towards the surface of the earth and seek the light. And we have all these slow processes that happen in the shedding of the ego. It's not an overnight thing for most people, though you could have a moment of illumination that's extremely powerful. You could be like a bamboo tree that's been sitting laden under the earth for 5 years, and suddenly you grow a meter a day. That very well could be the case. But it isn't for most, and it certainly isn't for this guy right here, this identity, who has a lot of pain remembrances embedded in the body. And I recognize, as the observer of William's aliveness, I recognize his inner child as most valuable and really deserving protection, nurturing, care, love, abundance, wish fulfillment, and unity for all the people on earth who are seeking it. That's what he deserves. See how that's beautiful? You become the sole proprietor of your aliveness, of the identity you created. Suddenly, you now see yourself as the proper guardian of the life that is you. Rather than some force outside of us seemingly having control as to what we should be doing, we come into our power as the real, supportive, just rulers of our existence. More than that, or better said, it's the sole proprietor of our aliveness, the sole executor of our worth. We're coming into this now. Brittany, thank you for following. Thank you for all of you who have loved, shared, come to visit, been here. We're talking about consciousness. We're talking about how the watcher or observer of our aliveness is the sole proprietor and the executor of our egos. That the ego serves more as a performer or a shell of the true seed which is within, which is infinite in its expression and creation. And by coming into this power, we understand that we become what we think about, and that our feelings are the secret to accelerating the changes in our life that we desire, and that at least in the meantime, we can offer an environmental change for the cells of our body through the imagination. By stepping through these narrow gates and enjoying a wish-fulfilled life in the now, by seeing ourselves as an embodiment of wish fulfillment and living out our day, at least for these times that we have together, we can use this as an exercise to be surrounded by those whom we love, to be fulfilled, fully mobile, fully healed, to have all the wealth and prosperity and space and protection that we would ever desire, to know the means and the way are being provided at all times, and to know we can cast whatever burdens we're feeling on this intelligence just as easy as it can create our wish fulfillment. We can cast our burdens and heaviness upon it and go free. And we go free by simply imagining something better. That is the ask, and that is the release. We ask for the things we desire by going there and living it. We release the things that cause us pain by accepting that they're there, and then deciding that something is more important. Whatever we see in the imagination is more important. That way we can be okay with it as it unfolds and unwinds by not being there. Not in truth. The world can say, listen, you've got your head in the sand, you've lost yourself, you've lost your mind. Is it such a bad thing to lose your identity? Is it such a bad thing to lose your suffering? Is it such a bad thing to lose all of these definitions and labels? Well, to the world, to the ego, of course, it would be the death of it. And the death of the ego is the liberation of your soul and the liberation of your true freedom to live a wish-fulfilled life. As this becomes the kingdom within you in reflection, that's what you want. You go to the kingdom now, it's already yours, you're already a king, you're already a queen, you're already an emperor or an empress. That is in your imagination. You can't deny it. You go to that place that knows no bounds, you become like a child in your innocence, and you start living out that wish-fulfilled state, enjoying the things you would love to enjoy, just as I do. And so, naturally what happens is, as we change this environment for ourselves, by changing the environment in the imagination, through the imagination, what ends up happening is, it creates resistance with the construct we've already built called the ego. And that ego is going to throw a number of curveballs at you. Someone's going to say something that you considered a trigger word. Perhaps an uncomfortable scenario could unfold before you. And the only test you have in that moment is to see whether or not you can observe it rather than participate in the reaction to it. And if you can catch yourself for a single second to take a single breath, knowing that you're more the observer of this happening than the participant in it, you have won. This is the step towards illumination that is a high-level form of Zen Buddhism. Just a single time is enough for the seed to be planted for it to unravel on its own. It is a major step in the direction of your liberation of self. And you come into huge manifestation power just by exercising it once. The text message comes in, the response used to be to react, type right back. Instead of doing that, you take a deep breath in and you say to yourself, this does not move me as much as I observe it is happening. I observe I am alive. And you stop in your tracks. And you feel it. It doesn't feel good. It's pain. It's excitement in the way that you may not like. But it's a routine that was fed to the subconscious. It believes it needs to manifest it. That's what's beautiful about the subconscious. It thinks you want it. Just like it thought I wanted these text messages that came in at the times when I knew exactly who that was. Didn't want to hear it, but it kept coming in. I did want it because I kept feeling it. So what happens, the change to that is it's here, it's manifest, and I observe it. I'm not jumping on it. I'm not running from it. I'm not yelling at it. And I'm not pretending to be stronger than I am. This ego is not going to pretend to be stronger because that's just another form of weakness in disguise. Instead, I'm no longer the ego. I am simply observing it is happening. That's that. By doing that, you are being present, you heal, and then you can step into the narrow gates. And I'm seeing the message coming in, and it's the most loving, supportive, kind message, or it's no message coming in. Wow, what a beautiful day to not have a single message coming in, no concern. Either way, you are riding in the driver's seat, making the decision as to what this really is in definition, and you've defined it as good. Whereas before it was outside of your control, now you've defined it as good, using the imagination. And this is how you rewrite your reality. Scott, thank you for following. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Desiree, thank you for following. So many people coming in that I haven't seen before, and I want to welcome you. Our discussions are about consciousness, the state of being, the ego, which is our identity and collection of life experiences through memories, and how they embed in the body being made of cells, having a memory of their own, and how we change the environment for ourselves by using the imagination in a constructive, conscious way for our wish fulfillment. And as we do this with more repetition, which is effectively meditation, the greater the impression we leave upon the subconscious, which is the womb of creation. Consciousness exists in three parts. Part one is the I. When you say I am, or I have, or I want, or I hope, or I wish, the I is the infinite. That is the imagination. You're stating imagination, infinite source, and then you place the order. Your order goes into a wish fulfillment center that has no bounds, no limits, no requirements, no restrictions. That is the A of the I am. That's the active, deciding measure. That's effectively the father. The mother is the M. That is the maternal element that receives, that is the earth that receives the seed. It is also known as the matrix. Matrix in Latin means womb. So the I of I am is the infinite, the A is the active choosing principle, the father, and the M is the mother, the receiving element, or matrix or womb of creation. Every time you use I am, every time you use a verb, which is an action word, you're using I am by default to impress the subconscious with something that you either like or dislike. You either want or do not want. And this is how everything manifests. Everything manifests through the I am. Everything is the I am. I am is consciousness. And it's in three parts. Now, Ree asks, have you written a book by chance? I write a lot of books, and I love to write, Ree. I have a few on Amazon. They're dated. However, I am looking to finish a new book. I'm finishing a new book. I'm about halfway through. That is speculative fiction that I think you might all really enjoy. Thank you for asking, Ree. Phoenix Scorn, thank you for following. Desiree, I think I caught you for following. I caught you following. Thank you. I want to make sure I catch everyone here so that you know how much I appreciate and love that you've come here and followed. I'm glad your Desiree says, love it. I'm glad this resonates with you. Hamza, thank you for sending off all that love. And Jason says, never mind. Okay. I must have answered something as I go. That was a synchronicity then, Jason, which I love. Sage says, oh my God, hey, friend, it's Sage ASMR. Yay, Sage. What's up, Sage? Oh, it's such a pleasant surprise to have you come in. Everyone, Sage, is this your main account? If it's your main account, please, everyone, go give Sage a follow. It's some of the best ASMR you'll ever hear, and Sage is an amazing soul. Great to see you here, Sage. What a pleasure to have you here. Audie, thank you for following. All right. Everyone, thank you for your love. So when I'm talking about consciousness, we're talking about three components. The trinity of consciousness is the I, the infinite, your imagination. It's an infinite intelligence that knows no bounds. It's the giver and gift of life. It's everything. And then the I creates duality. And duality gives us the perception of our reality. This three-dimensional reality is because of duality, polarity. You have to have polar opposites for there to be light generated. So not only does the I give us the duality that is our existence, the duality can't exist without polarity. The duality can't exist without light, and light can't create duality without duality existing. So we have to have everything and nothing at the same time happening in union. The Trinity is absolutely necessary. The Trinity of I Am is necessary for you to have a conscious experience as human. You have to have the infinite. You have to have the imagination. You have to have the active choosing principle, and you have to have the maternal matrix or womb of creation receiving the orders. And then, of course, there is a fourth component, and that fourth component is you as the son of the mother and father. Whether you're male or female doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with gender per se. It has to do with you being a child of creation. So what does a child do? A child makes decisions. A child makes mistakes. A child explores and checks things out. Some things work, some things don't. But a child is always deciding what you want, what it wants versus what it doesn't. And that which is the child in truth in your physical body is your breath. The Holy Spirit. Spiritus in Latin means breath. So you are more breath. Joyce, thank you for following. Sage, thank you for all the love and for being here. I'm so happy you're here. Audie, I said thank you before. You are more breath than anything else as far as physical being goes. Proof comes in this. The tidal volume, TIDAL, the amount of waves of air that come and go from the body in a given 24-hour period equals 2,100 gallons, which means 2,100 gallons of air are coming and going through your physical body in a given day, which also means you become what you eat. You are what you eat, and what you eat the most is air. Spiritus in Latin is the breath. You are spirit, pure spirit. More than your collection of life experiences, more than your memories, more than the feelings that have embedded themselves in your physical body. You are more breath than anything else. And that breath does not judge a single human being. It does not discriminate against anyone. It says, if you draw me in, I will produce energy, which is the currency of your life for you to function and decide things. For it is the breath that gives you life. Okay? You are the breath of life. And the body is the result of the breath in addition to the Trinity. So technically the Holy Spirit and the Son of God, which is could be man or woman, does not matter. The breath and the Son are one and the same. You are breathing in so you can speak, so you can think, so you can act, so you can make decisions, so you can create energy. That's why you breathe. And the breath gives you life so that you can send messages through I Am, the infinite, active, and maternal, to impress the subconscious or to impress the infinite into creating things. So you are impressing an infinite sea without shores. The universal subconscious mind, God, the infinite intelligence, being, aliveness, however you want to refer to it, the everything and nothing, the all, the one, whatever it is. You are impressing it with your thoughts. You are spending currency in order to entertain a thought. Your currency is based on how well you breathe, how well you eat, and how well you keep your environment peaceful. That allows a more efficient printing press of the currency of your life to be maintained in your body so that you can put that money towards the things that you truly desire. This is how we are working our way through consciousness. This is how we manifest things. And if we are embedded in time, we are spending our currency on an illusion. We are spending our currency on something that doesn't even exist. And that is a waste. If we are not creating time for the sake of revision, to revise the scenarios that have once happened or never will in the future, then we are simply spending currency to go onto Netflix or onto social media and observe something we've already watched 1,000,000 times, which we know doom scrolls us to oblivion and gets us to feel horrific things with the body that are already embedded there as pain. It serves no purpose other than to feel it, because we are addicts of feeling. We are beings of feeling. So there's a purpose, if there ever was, to revisit the things in the past that cause pain, and we go to them for the feeling. Because we believe it's the only way we can feel. Because we're so deathly afraid of the present moment. And the reason why we are deathly afraid of the present moment is because the ego cannot exist in it, cannot see it, cannot feel it, and does not believe it exists. And if we're ever there, it doesn't see us because it can't be there with us, and thus fears it like the plague and wants you to avoid it at all costs, and will try to convince you all the time that there are better things to do than be present here in the now. Because it's like an undisciplined child that is tantruming if you're not around to feed it attention. That's all it is. Poor thing. That's okay though. We're becoming good parents to ourselves. Remember again, by observing your aliveness, you are becoming the sole proprietor of your existence. You are coming into your power as the guardian of your spirit and the guardian of your body, which is a temple of God. This is what we are doing by being observers of our aliveness, the watchers of our aliveness. We start to care for our inner child in a proper way, and we understand that we've come into this world to have a vessel of God, this physical body, to be proper caretakers of it, rather than to put it in the hands of an illusion, of something that will abandon us in a second. If we weren't to feed it all the power of our imagination, it would abandon us in a second, and it does. Whether we die in this waking life by illuminating ourselves, or when we give up on life, the ego abandons us. Remember that. There's only one time you'll have this expression of ego. It cares not about your illumination. It cares not about your life. It cares not about the solution to your problems. It only wants to feed off of your imagination. That's all it wants. And we are better parents to our inner child now by understanding this. We're not going to let it be in the hands of an abusive, no problem solved, pain in the ass child with adult power. We're now coming into our power and being. And we can thank the ego for showing us the way, by reminding us that the pains that we felt through it were unresolved and no longer have a place in our lives. They no longer serve a purpose, whereas they did before for the feeling of desperation, just to feel something. The world on the other side is a star child of wish fulfillment, and that's our truth. Take some time with this water. It's full of free electrons. Imagine it being yours, and it is. I'd like to show this to all of you. Oh, Majestic Rose says, I bet it's the cleanest water you can get. It is, and it's filled with goodness. It's cold. Comes from the earth. Garrett asks, where is this trail? This is a state forest in Connecticut. This is a Connecticut state forest. Majestic says, it makes me thirsty just looking at it. I'm drinking from a vessel that's really nice too. I'll show you. I'm drinking from this copper vessel. And the water is so cold. And it's charged from the copper. This is Ayurvedic. It's actually in my showcase. You can see the video. It's in my profile. This comes with a lifetime warranty too. Everyone is unique. They're indented in their own way. And it charges the water. All the free electrons are passing through this chamber right now into the water. And it's perfect drinking. So I just had some. It was amazing. And I'm also carrying with me this stone. This is an onyx. Because there's an inclusion that wraps around. And I'm using this to warm my hands. Creating mechanical stress on both ends. Sends a current through the hand. And it's serving as a beautiful hand warmer right now. It's fairly cold with the breeze and can barely feel it. So let's keep cooking. Let's keep cooking here. I like to get this cold exposure. India, it's great to see. I saw you just joined. Garrett says, so sweet. Yeah, it's nice. The vessel's great for the water. So I'm exposing myself to the cold fairly openly. And the temperature is dropping. It's notable. But as we come full circle to the discussion from today, I'll thank you, Majestic Rose, for your kindnesses. As we come full circle in this discussion today, if you were here since the beginning, and I have two, in addition to this video, I have a video from yesterday on Phosphene's meditation that shall be posted on YouTube. I just have to catch up on some things. All in due time. But you may recall in the beginning of this discussion, I talked about mitochondria, how they serve as the furnaces of the body and the power plants to help in the production of ATP. So they're like printing presses of energy. And I mentioned in the beginning that when you expose yourself to cold, these mitochondria will migrate to the surface of your skin that's being exposed to the cold. And that dense, packed conglomerate, or the family of mitochondria that come together, form into a new form of fat called brown adipose tissue. And it's brown fat because there's so much density of mitochondria. It changes the color of your adipose tissue, your fat tissue. Which simply means there's a huge amount of furnace effect right on the surface of my skin right now. So I can be exposed to this cold fully. And the mitochondria is creating all this thermogenesis, creating all this heat. So we can be out here in sub-degree temperatures. You can hear from the crunching of the snow that it's below freezing. That's a good way to tell. So I've been out here in sub-degree temperatures for, I think, over 2 hours now. And the typical doctor would say 15 minutes of exposure to this cold would lead to frostbite. So now you can see how mind affects the environment of the cells. The cells migrate to the surface of my skin. They feel an environment that is nice and warm because my imagination is imagining me being warm. So the whole system works in my favor. Now, because I have all this brown adipose tissue on the surface of my skin, I have constant thermogenesis, which means throughout the day, even if I'm not exposed to the cold, I'm burning calories. And you can guess where these calories are coming from. Not from the glucose, but from the fat. So not only am I getting energy that isn't shivering energy, it's steady, it's smooth, it's powerful, and it's coming from my fat cells. Free electrons coming from the environment reduces inflammation. You see where I'm going with this. A simple walk in the woods and sometimes powering up and down the hills gets me all I need to stay in perfect shape at this age. And it also keeps the mitochondria renewing and staying strong. I also use supplementation to help the process. Creatine, I take it in gummy form. So I take that in the morning. That helps with the recycling of ADP, which is the byproduct of ATP, back into ATP. So I've got a higher rate of ATP production. NAD plus renews the mitochondria, is anti-aging, gives me all this power. Cold exposure encourages the process to occur at a faster rate. Free electrons come in, supporting the electron transport chain. And the rest is just science doing its thing. I stay warm. We stay out here for hours. It seems to defy science. And it's simply to make a point that it has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the infinite intelligence that knows the means and the way to keep me alive and well and safe under extreme conditions, just as it works for Wim Hof, the Iceman, or any other polar bear who would be putting this to the test. It is not William who is sustaining the warmth. It is the infinite intelligence telling the cells of my body, all is well. More breathing through the nose. Activates nitric oxide. Releases endorphins. So now I'm getting the sun. It's a pain reliever. Converts cholesterol under my skin to vitamin D. All of this at no cost. Just walking in the woods, absorbing the sun. Exposure to the cold. And at first, you'll be put to the test. But remember, it doesn't move you as much as you observe you are alive. Nothing can be so painful after that realization. And you'll be tested. It's okay. It's simply an opportunity to try to observe, to try to watch without label or definition, like a newborn baby. And think about what happens. Thank you for all the love. Think about what happens for the newborn baby. Everywhere they go, doesn't matter who it is. Every human being that sees a newborn baby feels that energy and wants to be around it, wants to be surrounded by it, wants to nurture it, wants to care for it. That's the environment you're providing for your cells when you simply observe you're alive. There's no ego that gets in the way, and you are nurturing yourself. And the external world feels this. It feels your presence. It wants to be around it. Your heart flips the switch to the parasympathetic nervous system and starts to attract that which you are imagining is real. We got runners coming through, so I'm going to lower the phone here. pick up the pace a little bit. All yours, guys. Go ahead. Have a good run. Thanks. All right. You see, when you're a young kid like those guys, they're booking through, sweatshirts on. Their faces are rosy red. They're not thinking about how this is sub-degree temperature and something's going to happen to them. They just know that their coach told them they got to run cross-country through this trail and do whatever laps they got to do. And they're going to do it. They're not thinking about how they're defying what doctors would say is impossible. Out of sight, out of mind. Just plowing through. The body knows how to handle it. The body takes care of you. You just have to believe. This goes for the job you want. Oh, Liz, thank you for the hand hearts. Liz222. This goes for the job you want. This goes for the success you desire. This goes for the wish fulfillment of love or support. Goes for abundance, goes for everything. It's not just defying what the world says is possible with the physical body. You're using the imagination in the same way for the attraction of the other things that you desire just as much. So the formula works the same way. You ask for what you want by believing you are it now. That's how you ask. The ask is the belief. And faith is the perception that you see it as real before the world does. Before the world expresses it. Or before those in the world see it. You see it through your imagination as real and experiencing it now in truth. Through the imagination. That is faith. A lot of people get lost in the definition of faith. That's all it is. You see and experience it as real through the imagination before it manifests. And the same faith we naturally put in with the things we order from Amazon. Example, you want something from Amazon? You want something from the TikTok shop? You go to the shop. It says it's in stock. Great, you add it to the cart. You click checkout. You order it. Now that you've ordered it, it tells you expected delivery. The order is placed. Congratulations. We're shipping it out. It's on its way to you. And so you believe, right? You believe it's going to arrive. You believe it's already there. In fact, you're thinking about how you're going to use this product to better your life, even while you're shopping. You're thinking about it being in your hands. You're thinking about how cool it would be to have it. And you want it so badly, and now you're experiencing it in your mind because the order is placed. You're getting more and more excited about it. You're feeling it. 11 Jedi says, have a great day, everyone. You too, 11 Jedi. Blessings to you, and thanks for being here. And thank you for your kind words and for your follow. So, just like it's just like having your own shopping cart. Except there's no restriction with this shopping cart. And instead of there even being a time delay between you receiving it and the order, you've already placed the order and you're already experiencing it as real now. That's what you're truly doing. I thought the guys were running, but they're actually partying. Partying in the woods. The look of guilt on their faces when they saw me thinking, oh, is this a teacher who's out looking for us? Nope. Nope. That was very kind of you, Sueru. Sueru, thank you for all the love you sent through. We're at 20,600 feet above sea level on this beautiful day. So once again, your wish fulfillment center for all things is the imagination. It's in the mind. And make it so there's no delay between what you want and actually living it now. And the order is placed. That's the ask. That's the order. That's how you do it. Rachel, thank you for the love. It's good to see you again. Okay, let's cross this. Okay, we did it. We did it. All right. So let's take this moment now. Got about another 25 minutes or so before the broadcast ends. Either that or the battery runs out. So let's take a few moments now to go into the nation of images, the imagination. If you haven't yet gone there, and just start adding things to your cart, checking them out, and then use them. These things include any possibility. Your perfect home, perfect car. They could be physical things. They could be affection, love, success, harvest, joy, unity, relief, healing. Whatever it is, now's the time to go there. Go there now. I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Have fun. There's no time. You're there. This is the now. Live in the body. Be in the body of the wish fulfillment. You're not floating above, you're in the body. You're feeling the love. You're experiencing the love. You're tasting the food. You're breathing the air. You're counting the money. You're driving the car. You're holding the hand. You're flying in the plane. You're flying in the plane. You're fully healed. Fully mobile, warm and protected, confident and serene. You're feeling the sun. You're listening to the words. You're hearing the sounds. Nothing moves you more than this moment. This moment to you is everything. No matter what the world says outside of it. It's only illusion. You're laughing and smiling. You're bright and vibrant. You're strong and intelligent. Full of wisdom. The world sees it. You see it. Embody it. Start to add whatever final details to your image as you witness and live this wish fulfillment. Make your final details. Make a sense of thanks, give gratitude to the imagination for giving you the space to work. As you imagine your birthday cake before you, it's lit, and this represents all of your wishes, the impression you just made, the seed. Take a deep inhale through the nose, blow out the wishes, blow out the candle. Blow out all the candles and imagine them going out to all the stretches of the universe, reaching every corner, permeating your life and every cell in your body. Okay. Come back. Nice and easy. Start to notice the sensations in your body. Don't have to define them. Just return. And just be. We use the imagination to leave this impression. It overrides everything in your given day. That's the beauty of this. Just a few minutes in the imagination like this is enough to override any unpleasant situation that you may occur in your waking life. Once again, the waking life is the result of your thoughts and feelings, not the cause of your woes or results that you see before you. That's all caused through the imagination. So the imagination takes precedence over all manifestations before you. That's what's beautiful about just a few minutes of meditation. as the answers speed their way to you. The results you seek, speeding their way to you. Okay. We have about, I would say, another 5 to 10 minutes before I conclude this live broadcast. If anyone has any questions about today's practice, now would be a good time to chime in. Otherwise, I'll just take it easy as I make my way. I am most grateful for all of you being here. Most grateful because you are embodiments of this infinite intelligence. I see you as my equals. I see you in the light of truth as love and embodiments of love. I see you prospered divinely, healed in whatever way you seek, nurtured, cared for, met with success. The answers, all those things. I see them as yours. Sueru, thank you for all your kindnesses. Liz, thank you. And for all the love coming in. I'm so grateful to all of you. This is our daily practice now. Some have asked for a time frame. And it really varies. But just know, if you're checking in on TikTok and you see it live, if you see Immortal Arts live, you can expect more of this consciousness practice, okay? The meditations we're doing. So you can leave that impression. And my YouTube page has these recordings, so if you need to just go to one, know that you always have that, and know that you always have the birthday cake practice. It's a single breath. Once again, you're closing your eyes, you're breathing in, you're imagining the birthday cake lit, saying to yourself, I'm breathing in, and then blow out the candles. Pretty soon you'll get so good at it, so used to it, that you'll be able to reset your nervous system anytime you feel overwhelmed. Just know it's just a challenge, it's an opportunity to allow some of this pain body to unfold. It's just the inner child saying, hey, this hurts. We've been holding on to this for a while. Please cast this burden for me. And you can just blow out the candles of the birthday cake, and that will cast those burdens. And you can even fortify it by using a mantra. By saying, I cast this burden on the infinite intelligence within me and go free. I refer to it as Christ. Some of you may not. You can define it however you like. You can define it as the intelligence that heals your body when you get cut. For all I know, it's the same thing. But you say, I cast this burden on the Christ within and go free. This does not move me as much as I observe I am alive and free. This is my truth as I come to know it through being. I cast this burden and I am free. Freedom is the highest form of love. And this is how I love myself on high. I cast this burden and go free. Blow out the candles. Feel the relief that comes with it. And you can go right back in to adding details to your wish-fulfilled life if that's what you prefer, or you can just come back to the present, whether it's a yes or no situation, and observe. That's all it is. This is how you solve everything. It is done. Okay. That's going to do it for today. The work is done. Garrett says, Om Sai Ram. Indeed, Garrett. Om Sai Ram. All is one. All is one. We are all pure spirit. Always have been. Always will be. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Help ever, hurt never. This intelligence knows the means and the way. Its yoke is easy. Its burden is light. All it does is heal and expand your love. That's all it does. And it is you. So until next time, know that every time you think you're spending currency to make a wish, keep wishing and wish well. I love you all. Thank you for following and liking and all the goodness. You can find this on YouTube. God